So, ever since I had my son months ago, my husband has started making indirect comments about my body. He never says any hurtful words, but I find his observations, as he calls it, hurtful. For example, he'd see me wearing an old top and say, "Oh, the top used to look good on you but not anymore though." Or when he looks at my waist and says, "Wow, didn't know your waist could get this wide." Basically passive stuff that I tried to ignore till it extended to friends and family. FYI, this went on for months and months and months. We went to Christmas celebration at his family's home. My sil complimented my floral maxi dress and my husband said, "I agree, it looks nice on you. Though I have to admit that your waist could get smaller than this." Awkward silence took over. I was absolutely fuming, and this was my last straw. So I got up from my chair in the middle of dinner and shouted at the top of my lungs, "Shut the fuck up about my body." He was absolutely speechless as his family stared while some others tried to get me to calm down, but situation got more tense and dinner ended up being cut short and my husband storming off to his friend's place to spend the night, upon leaving a very nasty text saying I embarrassed him and made a scene over an observation he made. He called me childish and told me to get therapy for my insecurities instead of verbally abusing him and scaring his family. Now I feel like an absolute idiot asshole and like I ruined Christmas for him and everybody with my oversensitivity. Ada? IF32 recently inherited a good amount of money from my mom. I keep the money in a separate account as I still haven't decided what to do with it and I didn't want it to go to waste. I noticed my husband constantly bringing up the inheritance money and making countless suggestions as to how I should spend it. Another thing is that he expects me pay for nearly everything the past couple of weeks. My husband and I met up with his family at a restaurant to celebrate. It was going fine until I found out that I was expected to pay for everyone at the table. My husband's mom joked about paying for dinner out of my inheritance pocket, which made me livid, but I showed no reaction. Just silently paid for my own food, drinks. Then got up and made my way out of the restaurant. They were shouting after me like a crowd and my husband tried to get me to come back, but I drove home. He got back at 3 a.m. yelling at me saying I was pathetic to get up and walk out on him and his family after they relied on me to pay for their food and thought I was gracious enough to do it, but they were wrong. He said I humiliated him and family and that what I did was an attempt to get back at them for not being able to help mom when she was sick. Not true is all I'm gonna say. He is mad and is saying that I caused a huge rift between his family and me when it wouldn't have hurt me to pay for the celebratory dinner. Ada? My husband and I are expecting. This is our first baby and we're excited. Thing is, he barely attends any doctor appointments with me and his excuses aren't even valid. He's willing to miss the doctor appointment over soccer or a drink or board game with friends. His response is always, "I'm not the one carrying the baby, why do I have to go see the doctor with you?" Last week was my final straw. He was supposed to come with me for the baby's gender reveal appointment, but he chose to not come last minute because his friend invited him to fish and chips meal. I was pretty livid but didn't make a fuss about it. Mom went with me instead. He texted asking me to tell him the results, boy or girl, but I refused to tell him. He kept spam calling me but I hung up each time. He came home fuming, demanding I tell him the results, but I refused and bluntly told him, since he refused to attend the appointment then he gets no results till after the baby's born, and said I was willing to die on this hill. He went off calling me spiteful and immature for doing this and punishing him. He said he's the father and has the right to know. He then called me dramatic since I wasn't alone and mom was with me. I said he gets no results, period. He's been fuming about it and told his family, and they're now pressuring me to stop playing mind games with him and tell him, but I declined. Ada? Edit/update. Hi, so, first of all, wow. I did not expect this to blow up. Sorry, can't answer any comments because of feeling overwhelmed. I just wanted to mention that my husband just attempted to contact my doctor to get the results. It didn't go well and we had another argument over it. He couldn't get it since his mom was the one who made the call. For context, this year was the first time we would try the Elf on the Shelf with our kids. We have 3 kids, Lucas, 9M, Andy, 8M, and Claire, 5F. where Lucas and Andy are from our past relationships. However, Miles, my husband M37, has accepted Andy as his, and so did I, F35, with Lucas. Every Christmas is special for Andy. His BD is on December/24. His dad started a tradition where Santa would have consideration with him for being a kid of Christmas. So he feels magical and special. I always try to give him that. Last year, I left Santa Claus footsteps, ate a carrot and grass he left for Rudolph. Stuff like that. My husband doesn't think it's a good idea I do all that for him, and I'm showing favoritism. So, we should shut it down, because of my ex's decision to create a tradition without considering my other kids' feelings. I disagree since I do consider the three of them. But he asked if we could sew AmItheAsshole, like the elf on the shelf. I had no problem with it, but I didn't know how that works. He explained me quickly, and since he was the one who offered, I let him do it. We bought the cute elf. My kids named it Bob. Later my husband explained them they should behave, and never touch, hold Bob if they don't want it to be naughty. At first, it was cute to see them spy on Bob, try to see it fly each night. Andy was the most excited of all. I found him one night talking with it, asking it if Santa still remembered him. But my husband took seriously the behave or Bob would be naughty part. Lucas was his first victim after he didn't do his chores. The next day, his face was drawn with Sharpie markers. Then Claire, who touched Bob in her fave onesie, was destroyed. Apparently, Bob had cut some pieces of it while she was sleeping. Miles was having fun, but I could see my kids weren't. I talked to him about how we should lower the pranks. He agreed but wanted to catch Andy since he hadn't break any rules. I told him that Bob's supposed to tell Santa instead of being naughty. We argued but he finally agreed. Fast forward, it's Christmas Eve and in the afternoon we had some of Andy's friends to celebrate his BD. So the kids were playing in backyard. But my husband looked sus. I decided to look for Bob. It was supposed to be in the kitchen but it wasn't there. I asked Miles where it was and he told me no idea. I started getting paranoid, but Andy asked me if we could cut the cake already. I put my best face on and went for it. The cake was in a box, and when Andy opened the box, he starts crying. I take a look and it's ruined. Bob was covered in all of it, appearing he had been eating the cake. Half of the cake wasn't there anymore. Miles starts laughing and so did some of the other parents. My blood is boiling and I grab Bob and throw it in the trash, then I grabbed Miles. We have a terrible argument, calls me an off for what I did to Bob, that I've ruined it. How are we supposed to keep the magic with our kids if I wasn't supposed to touch Bob? Edit. Hi everyone, so the response has been really overwhelming. I'm sorry if it took me some time to answer. I was kinda avoiding the post, since I was conflicted by the possible outcome. I'm going through all your comments, so I can answer some of your questions. I'd also explain things you all have doubts in common. 1. Andy's dad is from Canada. He visits Andy every spring, summer and on Christmas break. This year he stayed for his job, so he isn't an absent parent. 2. After Andy's BD I told Miles to get out of the house, and so he did. He spent Christmas with my in-laws. I stayed with the kids, and all of them slept in Andy's room. My kids didn't want to leave his brother alone. The next morning we opened the gifts and I made sure that Andy could feel special after what happened on his BD, so I wrote a note from Bob, saying that he is sorry if scared him and his siblings. He didn't do his job correctly, so now he would be flying to the NP with Santa. And when he asked if Santa still remembered the kid of Christmas, he did. Santa was really happy to see him. 3. My kids and I are okay. We are sleeping at my parents' house. And we would celebrate Nye here too. 4. Yes, Claire was using the onesie while she was sleeping. My husband took the idea out of TikTok. And no, Andy did nothing to even be attacked by Bob. This year I went to my fiance's house for Christmas. It was my first time going, as we would typically go to my family's house instead. I got a rather pricey gift for my fiancé Dan related to his hobbies. I got nice gifts for Dan's parents based off of things I'd talked about with them before, and I got a small pack of chocolates for each of Dan's other relatives. I didn't know them that well. I wasn't expecting many gifts from Dan's relatives because I didn't know many of them that well, but I was certainly expecting more than I got. At first, I was excited when I saw that there was a big pile of gifts for me. However, once I opened the first one, it was just a piece of coal. Everyone laughed, and I just kind of laughed along, thinking it was a gag gift and that the other gifts would be different. But every single one turned out to be coal. All 18 of them. I started to get upset, so I cried and lashed out at Dan. But he calmly explained apparently this is a long-standing tradition in his family where they gift coal to newcomers who are celebrating Christmas with them for the first time. He explained that it's just easier that way since all the relatives who might not know the newcomer well don't have to stress over finding a gift, and it's a fun experience for the newcomer as well. I told Dan I couldn't believe I skipped my own family celebration for this and left. But now Dan and some of his family are blowing up my phone saying I embarrassed him in front of his relatives and that I made it awkward for everyone. So Ada? I have 2 kids, 2F, 4F. I fucking hate how everyone thinks of me as being just a mommy now. I don't get to be my own person. I'm just mommy. Husband doesn't face this. He gets gifts from everyone that have to do with his hobbies. Me? I get a bunch of mommy shit. Tee, mommy needs wine. And like matching outfits. I don't mean like one of those cutesy matching pajama sets that the nurses and horse girls wear in their staged Christmas Insta pics. I mean like, people actually think I'm going to go out in public wearing some cutesy matching outfits with my toddlers. As though I think they're mini versions of myself. Or dolls? From the time we got to the in-laws, it was mama this and mama that. At some point, my sil said it and I said, you know my name is Carmen, right? She just looked at me funny and said, of course, silly. I said, so why do you keep calling me mama? You aren't going around calling husband papa. Sil just looked at me like I had 2 heads and was like, okay. This went on all over Christmas. Here you go, mama. Want another slice, mama? At that point I was just like, do you guys mind calling me by my name instead of calling me mama? The same Sil as before did the whole golly gee doe-eyed thing and said, but you're such a good mama. I said that I'm not just a mom. I gestured to the things that husband got for Christmas from them, and said, why didn't you guys get him anything that says papa? Everything you gave me is somehow related to me being a mom. Why does he get to be his own person? Mill grabbed my hand and squeezed it and said that she was sorry that she made me feel like this. She was just so excited about being a grandma and she never really thought of things like that. I was feeling a little better until Sil 2 and Sil 3 started going after me. One of them did that whole "are you okay? Do you need to talk someone? You sound so angry." It isn't healthy full concern thing that's meant to shame you for having any emotional response. The other one was angry and saying that is being a mom somehow beneath you and do you think you are better than the rest of us? And all that. When we finally left, he asked me why I'd kept it in for so long, and I said that I haven't. No one listened to me before. I've said these things plenty of times. I've always asked them to call me by my name and not some disgusting nickname that boils me down to giving birth. He nodded, but said that I'd put a big pallor on the weekend and that I need to apologize for the outbursts at some point. I said sure, as soon as Sills apologized to me for dehumanizing me for years. We're at a stalemate. Ada?